Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to Strength Solutions Podcast. We're on Apple and Spotify. You can rate and view us. Check us out on YouTube. Leave a comment down below. Like, subscribe, share. Our website is strengthsolutionspodcast.com. Free blogs, free guides, and programs for purchase. Then be on the look for our Facebook group. And we got some things going on. strengthsolutionspodcast@gmail.com. If you have any questions or anything you want us to talk about, that's where to send it to. Social media, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. I'm Strength Solutions Edwin.
Strength Solutions, Nathaniel.
Okay. So at our nutrition seminar, we had this past weekend, I really thought it was good because we didn't talk about food. Is that kind of weird?
Yeah, I guess, if you go to a nutrition seminar, I think that's what most people think you're going to get, right? Like, I'm going to get my macros, or I'm going to get a list of foods that are good to eat with high protein or blah, 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 whatever. But I think we just have a little bit of a different outlook on nutrition and diet.
Yeah. And this is why the new food pyramid, it's so cool and great, is not really going to work.
What do you mean?
It's just not. So like one of the takeaways from it was really putting barriers between you and things that may cause you an issue. So what does this look like? This could be, I'm not bringing it in my home. We talked about, if I have brownies, it's just going to be gone. You have chips, it's going to be gone.
Crushed. Easy.
Like, that's why we don't have chips in the office. Or else I would have chips in the office. So when I want chips.
Oh God, dude, that sounds terrible.
We should buy the big old pack.
No.
They're just, they're little ones. You just need one.
No.
They'll be gone in a day.
Easy. I don't need just one, dude.
Oh, man.
I can't.
Yeah. So we talk about ways to set yourself up for success, like creating barriers, or like another barrier that people don't talk about is you're really craving something, like you want to eat out somewhere or whatever. Instead of getting in your car and just driving right away or ordering it through DoorDash, which you could just delete the app as a barrier for yourself, go for a walk around your block. See how you feel after that walk.
Yeah, we talked often about like changing behaviors and changing patterns, because a lot of the times that's just sort of, what you end up falling into. There's, a story that we talked about on our podcast that, I like a lot, about a client that you had in the past who would had like a ritual, of doing this thing on Wednesday where they would, I think it was like order a pizza and like watch a show and
Wings.
like, yeah, or something like that. And then all they did was change it to like a Thursday, right? And they like recorded the show instead, and it just kind of broke that cycle of thing that they were doing. And I don't think we'd take a look, or, we are just moving through life so quickly and fast that we never really realize what we're doing sometimes. And so doing something as simple as, like you said, going for a walk after you get out of work, instead of going straight inside and grabbing your favorite snack or turn on the TV, get out of your car and immediately, walk around the block a few times, or spend 20 minutes before you go inside. And that might be enough to sort of disconnect you, lower the stress level, so that whenever you do get inside, you're not just like on fire, and waiting for the thing to sort of calm you down.
Yeah. And I think barriers could be also, maybe you put a barrier on certain friends that you're around, and I only hang out with them on a weekend and not during the week. I text them mostly. I make these occasions, especially if my goal is to be healthier, and this friend is not going to be supportive of you being healthy, but you don't want to cut them out of your life. So creating a small barrier can make a huge difference.
Yeah, and it's hard. Everywhere on social media nowadays, all you see is people's like, you got to just cut everybody out, just forget about them. Everybody that's toxic in your life, just forget it. But it's like, number one, let's be real. Right. And two, it's like, okay, maybe this person isn't, the healthiest person that you hang out with, but that doesn't mean that you gotta like never speak to them again or something, but you do have to set up your own barrier. Right. And I think that's an important thing that I'm kind of going to dig into a little bit here, is like with barriers. We talk often about setting up barriers with friends or family, or, whatever it is, right? Not even just about nutrition and stuff. But oftentimes whenever people set up barriers, they think a barrier is telling someone to not do something, but that's not setting up a barrier. A barrier is telling yourself to not do something. You can't tell people like, hey, don't talk to me about this, or don't make plans with me to go out, or whatever it is. Like, you have to do that yourself. You have to set the barrier up that you're not going to cross, because you can't really control anybody else.
Yeah. And I think another thing that we talked about in this nutrition seminar is, yeah, you could create barriers and stuff, but also be realistic of what lifestyle you want to lead. And, to get to a certain body percent fat, and we talked about this on the podcast as well, nutrition seminar, is you're going to have trade-offs. So it's going to be a trade-off socially. It's going to be a trade-off on nutritionally, what food you can consume, how much whole food percentage-wise you have to eat, how many calories you have to eat consistently. And the lower you go on body percent fat, that's maybe you're doing dessert once a month, or you're doing more calories like once a month, and you're keeping more of a strict element to your eating.
And that's just sort of the reality, And I think we also have to understand the reality is that there's going to be a lot of people in your life that, I don't know, are going to like poke fun at you or be like, oh, so-and-so is always so healthy. And it's just like,
yeah. How many times I've been called a rabbit for eating carrots?
Like, just let it run off, man. Like, whatever, you're doing your thing. And if you're succeeding at it, then that's all that matters. Right. Mm-hmm. Not to like go all crazy now, but like most of the time it's people are, you're like making a reflection, right? And they have to look at themselves and realize that they're not doing whatever you're doing, whether they want to or not. And that is uncomfortable. And so, a way that they may cope with it is by sort of making you feel worse about doing whatever it is. And that's just how some people are, right? It doesn't mean they're the worst person in the world or anything, but it is something that you just have to understand is going to be a part of that process.
Yeah, relationships are huge when it comes to all this stuff. Mm. And also think about, we talked about in the nutrition seminar about where are you starting? I think people forget, where are they at? So for example, I'll let you tell the story, but like you're reading Reddit and the Coke story.
Oh yeah. It was something that I recounted during the event. And it was like, this guy had gone into a gas station and saw someone who, was objectively overweight, and they were getting a big old soda, right? Gas stations have like massive cups.
The gulps.
Yeah. Big gulp or big Q, right? Mm-hmm. So went over to the soda fountain, was getting Coca-Cola, right? Your straight, general classic Coke. And then they filled up about like half of it, and the other half they filled up with Coke Zero. And the guy was kind of talking about his inner monologue, and he was like, I saw this guy doing this, and I just thought, God, so stupid. Like, either just get all of it or don't, or just get all Coke Zero, or if you're not going to do it, just don't get soda at all. And, you just start thinking these things to yourself about people that you literally don't even know or what this guy's going through, Anyway, he kind of had this moment. He was like, what if I tried it? He was like, let me just see what happens. So he went, got half Coke Zero, and was like, you know what? It was kind of enough to cure that sort of craving that I normally have for a classic Coca-Cola with, all the sugar and all the calories and everything. But, in reality, I have the amount of calories I would have gotten from getting this large soda, right? Mm-hmm. And he was like, you know what? After a few weeks, I was like, well, let me do, 2/3 Coke Zero and 1/3 Coke. And then over time, he was like, I was wrong. This guy had something going on. And if you're the person who's getting a soda every day or getting an alcoholic beverage or whatever it is, right? It's these little tweaks that you make over a longer period of time that end up eliciting the best result, as opposed to just, like that guy was saying one day, just being like, I'm not drinking Coke anymore, or I'm only drinking Coke Zero. Because I said this in the event too. I understand that some people like really don't like artificial sweeteners or 0-calorie things, which I totally get. I literally don't care, but some people do. And so that's a good way to kind of ease yourself into maybe making a change or acquiring that taste for it or whatever it is, because arguably, soda's bad for you, but you're way better off getting a 0-calorie soda than you are, getting a full calorie soda, I'd say.
And which leads us to like, this study has been around forever. It's like a gas station diet, and you eat many donuts, and that's why the calories in and calories out is the first law of thermodynamics that really works. And the thing is, all you're doing is consuming less calories and you're burning off weight. It's just going to take time. And by doing like this in this habit, it's not going to seem as hard, because we even talked about a lot of times you want to add before you subtract, because psychologically, it's a lot easier to add vegetables to your diet versus changing your whole diet, or adding a little bit more protein to your diet. versus changing the whole diet. And what you need to do is focus on these small tasks, and they'll add up throughout the whole year.
It takes time, man. Like
it could take 3 years.
Gotta be patient. Yeah, it could take longer.
You gotta think about how much your human behavior, how much your central nervous system has adapted from your childhood. I know, like, I have to break patterns of, hey, like I ate and then I'm going to go find dessert and cookies and or whatever. Like I have to fight that till this day, all the time, because the stress doesn't just leave you all of a sudden. And people make it seem like, yeah, there are certain people who are successful. They get a meal plan and they do everything right. They're able to keep it. I can't tell you psychologically how they feel, but physically they can keep it up. Yeah, as far as I know, but psychologically, I don't know what's going on in their head.
Who knows, right? I mean, they just may have the discipline or whatever it is. But I was talking to a client, a new one, and we were talking about like weight loss and stuff. And I was sort of asking them how long it had been that they had sort of achieved the current weight that they were at. And they were like, I don't know, it was like 20 years. And I was like, okay, if it took you 20 years to get here, we're not fixing this in 3 months. You know, we're not fixing this in a year, maybe. Maybe if you're really crazy about it, we get it in like 5, but it could be longer, you know? And I think that we just have to understand.
And it's not that she or he could lose weight that fast. It's because the behavioral aspect.
Right. Technically, right? Scientifically, you could. You know, you could drop 50 pounds in a year, but it's like, it's really hard to do. Mm-hmm. And I would be very impressed if anybody could do it. But I think that we have to kind of sit down. We have to sort of accept that this is going to be a long process, right? And be happy with that. Be okay with it. Because at the end of the day, you're going to achieve that goal, right? As long as you take the time with it. And I think kind of what you were saying, like even to this day, you know, we have to kind of fight those urges. I think in some ways also, not always, but I think we also have to accept that sometimes those things like never go away. Mm-hmm. We're constantly having to fight them every day, you know, maybe for the rest of your life or whatever it is. But it's like over time, it'll get easier, right? Or you find out a strategy of how to break that habit or cycle or something like that. But this is funny because it kind of sounds like addiction, right? Where it's like people who get out of alcoholism, like, you know, even if they're sober for 20 years, every once in a while, I know, you know, they are still like, damn, you know, I still remember what a nice beer tastes like or whatever. And it's just like this fight that you got to do forever, you know, and it's accept that because once you do, that's going to make the whole process a lot easier.
Accept it. And then the only really nutritional item we talked about in the seminar was protein.
Yeah.
What is high protein? Because everybody around the grocery is seeing everything saying high protein.
Everything's high protein.
Corn dogs, what do you mean? High protein. That's what you said, right?
Pop-Tarts.
Pop-Tarts. Yeah, everything's high protein. So what will we consider high protein that is processed, right? Versus something that's not as processed. So everybody was like, oh yeah, meat, that's obvious. Fish, obvious, right? And then we're like, there's leaner cuts, there's fattier cuts, so then they're going to add more calories. And we had that little talk. But when it comes to like protein foods, eggs are probably the perfect example of something that's not processed, but is on the lower end of total protein for the calories. Also, what ultra processed foods like a protein bar or something like that supplement would be, right? So there's like 7 grams of protein for 70 calories. So a tenth, right?
Yeah.
Of it. So if it's 100 calories, it needs to be at least 10 grams of protein.
That's like, I don't want to say bare minimum, but that's like what you should at the very least be looking for, right? So every 100 calories, there should be 10 grams of protein. For every 10 calories, there should be 1 gram of protein. And that's like a good rule of thumb, you know? Are there ones that are better, right? Sure.
Of course.
But it's like
protein shake.
Right. That's a good example. But if you're going to the store and you're looking at stuff, and I think I was saying this in the event, like I'll take forever in a grocery store because I'm like pausing, looking at this, looking at that. And I get it. We're in and out, or maybe people are ordering groceries online, right? And they're just getting them delivered and stuff like that. But even then I'd argue that
it's easier to do that.
That kind of gives you some more time, you know? And also too, you know, we talked about like AI and stuff, and it's like the advent of like AI stuff. Like you could probably go in there and be like, create me a grocery list, you know, that is high protein and 0 processed foods or whatever. And it's going to give you something you can go off of, you know? And that's why while we were in the event, it's like, sure, we could talk about all that stuff, but the reality is that information is everywhere. You guys probably know the information already. It's about the application. It's about understanding the behaviors. It's about understanding why you can't do it, even though you do have the information, right? And how to manage that. And I think that's where like all of this aspect kind of comes in.
Yeah, here you go. Literally AI, be like, I want this meal plan, this many macros.
Dude,
how are you going to apply and how are you going to change your behavior?
Ask it for a workout program. It's going to build you something fantastic. But can you do it?
It's not going to be individualized.
It won't be individualized, yeah. But like, again, it's like generally,
it's
pretty good.
Yeah.
So
I've done it before.
To
see what it does.
And so it's like, but it's, can you apply it?
How are you going to do it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of, we did a lot of nutrition. A lot of people are weight loss, right? And stuff like that. And so you don't really have to change your weight to change your composition. You have to change the quality of the tissue. And if y'all have a chance, just go look it up. What does 5 pounds of fat look right next to 5 pounds of muscle? And it's a dramatic, stark difference of how much space is needed. And I think that is a big part of actually understanding that you don't have to think about weight loss, but weight quality tissue. And they're even starting to go further in science too. If, you have this much muscle, and this is for people who look very fit, but what is the marbling of the muscle? Is it lean looking, or does it have a lot of fat in between the muscles?
Yeah.
Because you can't think if I have muscle and there's fat in between, it's going to be that healthy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, go to the deli, right? And you can learn about marbling and stuff like that. And it's how much fat is in between the tissue itself. And muscle, as I'm sure we all know, is like a lot denser, right? Far more dense than fat. And that's what we're talking about. And like, a pound of fat is this big, and a pound of muscle is that big, right? And so that's why I can be 250 pounds and someone else could walk in and be 250 pounds, same height, same weight, and look completely different. Yeah. Because the quality of our tissue is just different.
And when we're growing muscle, it's not just growing muscle, but do we want to grow muscle or we want to be stronger? Because we like the muscle we have and we don't want to get too big. And we'll get more into that like next week.
Sure.
Thing. But when it comes to building muscle and getting that, it's also going to help like your your immune system, because now, or if you get cancer, you're more likely to survive. Muscle is the number one driver of like a lot of these things that are problems in society or recovering from, right? Because now you have somewhere to pull from. But there's also a thing of being too lean, right? And getting sick, and then you never bounce back either because you don't have enough fat tissue. So it's like this fine balance between having enough fat versus having enough muscle. And then your percentage of, like, typically they tell you for men about like 10 to 20, and then for women from 20 to 30% body fat is typically healthy. You got to find the range that really works for you, because we have genetics that are different. Like some people hold a really good low body percent fat. They're completely fine. Some people hold a little higher. You got to take previous history into consideration, how the body adapts and uses. So there's all these other things to think about as well.
Yeah, I think you had a good point during the event. I'm pretty sure it was during that. Yeah, you had said that like you have to take into account if you've ever been at a certain weight, right? Or if you've ever been at a certain body fat percentage, because if you haven't, it's going to be a lot harder for you to get there, or if you spent a lot of time at a high body fat percentage, even if you have been at a low body fat percentage before, it still makes it really hard because your body and muscles and fat, right, have like a memory.
Yeah.
And so it makes it easier to achieve these, or it makes it harder. And so if you're someone who's always been overweight and then now you want to lose weight or build muscle or things like that, like, you got a little bit of a harder journey, than someone who may have, gone through a lot of their life being lean and then had 2 years of a lot of stress and they gained a lot of weight. They're going to have a little bit of an easier time getting back to it, right? And it's all just circumstantial. It all just depends.
Yeah. I want to get into something very interesting, just to me, because I love sports.
Okay.
So the San Francisco 49ers over the last 3 or 4 years have been the most injured team.
Oh, wow. Right? Okay.
And they can't figure out why. And there's people who believe they're next to this electrical kind of plant thing and it radiates EMFs.
Like their training facility?
Their training facility. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
which is right next to the stadium itself. And they're wondering if EMFs are playing a role into these injuries.
Whoa.
Because they tend to be like tendon, like type of injuries.
Okay.
Like straight, not
connective tissue
stuff. Yeah.
That's crazy. I wonder if it does, man. I mean, I wouldn't deny that it would at least have some effect on something, right? In terms of that, I don't really know.
But it's too woo-woo right now, right?
Yeah. Or it's too much, like, especially, I guess, in the world of like football, you know, it's kind of more passed off as like, maybe.
Well, now they're starting to like really look into it a little bit more.
Really? Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
Because to me, they've been injured at a higher rate every year. If it was like
is
year.
Is it statistically like weird? Like no other team is getting
there's teams that just get injured.
Sure.
And then there's years they're not injured. But like the past 3 to 4 years, somebody's gone down over and over and over again. And important people who play more and stuff like that. And it's just like,
and I would imagine
how does it
that
always happen to this team?
Yeah. And I would imagine that their like training programs and stuff isn't like, way different.
I don't know if you talk to the fascia guys, they're like, oh, this guy's doing this little heel strike thing. That's why he's not like that one exercise.
Yeah, that's what's causing it. Yeah. I don't think so, buddy.
Yeah. That's my favorite part. There's someone literally, Christian McCaffrey, that was a fascia guy, breaking down like he was doing like this sprinter's kind of drill. He's like, you see the way his heel lands like that, and it's causing Achilles issues, and that's why he has calf strains and blah, blah, blah. I was like, yes, that one exercise. Like, it's not that hard. There's so many factors, fatigue of the year, eating, stress.
Especially since it's been like consistent over years. I don't know. Something's going on.
It's interesting. It could be a part of the component that speeds up the process of, not the only component, but speeds up the process. Maybe the grass that they're using there is not good, or the turf. You know, there's so many factors that everybody wants it to be this one thing. Like, it's super simple.
Yeah. Or I guess maybe they want to be like the genius behind figuring it out. You know, that's like
some people are like, all about feet. It's always from your foot. Or if it's all about your neck, it's all about your back. It's like
in what aspect of any part of any of our lives has any issue ever just been one thing? Like, never.
Your financial issues. If it's financial issue, it's never just like,
you're
not making enough money.
Yeah.
Stop eating fast food. We had this whole talk about that conversation about that. Like, there's like multiple factors, and you're looking at things from like one perspective, when humans are actually so complex, whether it's just physically or mentally, the complex. Like, if you do an exercise and you see someone at the gym and they pick up a dumbbell and they put it behind their head and then bring it back, you're like, that's a horrible exercise. You don't know their goal. Their goal could be to train the joint range of motion, and they have to pick up some items that are behind them all the time. And they just want to strengthen that to make sure when it's called upon, they can do it. And a perfect example is this: back injuries went up when they started introducing belts at work for like Home Depot and stuff like that. Because they would forget to wear the belt one time, and the body forgot that the belt wasn't there, and they released a little bit more in the spine, slip disc, and injury would happen.
Or I find that it kind of builds like a false sense of confidence. Like, I got the belt so I can lift this super heavy thing that I've never lifted before. And it's like,
yeah. And what's cool is this training realm is going into like other aspects. I'm starting to see is training eyes so you could not have glasses anymore and actually
see. I had this idea forever ago, man. Did I tell you about that?
Yeah.
So I went to go see my, I don't know what you call it.
I used to wear glasses.
Ophthalmologist, and it was like
optometrist.
And I've seen this guy for forever. So like I asked him, I was like, hey, can I like ask you a question? And I was like, I'm a personal trainer, right? So like when someone has a issue with pain, or if they just want to build muscle or whatever, like you train them, you know, like you get stronger, or you train a pattern to build better body mechanics or whatever it is. And I was like, with eyes, can you train them to be better, you know? And I think maybe it was a question that he hadn't really been asked before, or maybe hadn't given much thought, but he was like, I don't know. That's a really good question. He was like, you know, obviously there's surgeries to repair things, or they have like laser eye surgery to get rid of certain things. But he was like, I don't really know if you can like practice distance viewing and see, you know, but I would imagine you could.
Dude, I used to be with glasses. And I can feel when my eyes hurt, and I've been looking too close versus too far away.
Yeah. Because it's just like, I don't know.
You see me practicing sometimes here.
I should try.
I just look out the window.
Yeah. And just like try and focus on stuff.
There's better ways than what I'm doing. I've looked it up. And it's like tying a string, and then you have like a point here to look at, point there. But like further away.
Start doing it, bro.
Let's see if it really works.
Yeah, I mean, X-ray vision.
I use eye to help with body pain, like the way you use your eyes.
Yeah.
Because sometimes if I look to the left versus right, my neurons fire differently from my muscles, and then my muscles react better.
Yeah, we talked about that, where it's like your body essentially follows your eyes, right? So like if you're looking down during a deadlift, right, you don't realize it, but your spine is flexing slightly forward, you know, and then you're like, why does my back hurt? And you're like, okay, well, you're shearing forward because you're looking straight down, you know, and it's like, pick your head up, and then suddenly, you know, the spine becomes a little more neutral. You can hold that position better. But these are like nuanced, very small things.
Yeah. I think before we go into the actual like studies, I want to talk about this. We haven't talked about this forever. Common scams that we have all the time.
Oh, like in the fitness industry?
Yeah. So like detox teas. Right?
Oh, yeah.
So like, let's just explain a little bit more in depth. Like, it doesn't matter if you take this detox tea. You literally could just drink water and not eat and be detoxed. Like your body constantly tries to heal itself.
Yeah. Fasting has been shown multiple times to like have like neurogenesis and, you know, just in recovery in general, like they'll use it, you know, when people are recovering from injuries and things like that. Like obviously you need to eat and have protein and stuff like that too, but especially with like mental things, I've seen a lot of research around fasting with that. I think one of the big ones that I've been seeing right now, have you seen these, like, I don't know if this is really health and fitness, I guess it is, grounding pads?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess there's a little bit more to that. Like I've heard, okay, for like older people who knit a lot or use a lot of clothing and stuff, they'll build up a lot of static electricity, and then they're like shocking themselves on everything. So there's like these pads that they'll place on the ground that you plug just like one prong into the grounding portion of like a outlet. And it's supposed to like, you know, ground the electricity out of your body. And it's like, I don't know. Is that real? Maybe I'm stupid. Maybe that's totally real.
It could be.
I've seen like vibration plates and stuff like that. These are things that are like, it's tough because they have some merit, you know, but it's like, is it enough to be? I think the problem becomes when they're like, again, what we were talking about earlier, this is the brand new thing. This is going to fix your problem. This is going to fix your balance issues. This is going to fix your pain. This is going to fix that. And it's like, it might be one aspect of it, but I don't know if it's all of it.
Or I'm just going to do with this boss show, or I'm going to do it this. It's so complex, and everything takes rehab.
Right. And everything takes time.
Unfortunately.
I'm
going to give you a good scam.
Ooh, scamming. That
is a scam, but not a scam.
Okay.
Supplements. And the reason I'm saying this is this industry has gotten way out of hand.
There's so many. Yeah.
And, you know, I wish we had better relationships with our doctors to do blood work and to take us through this and take our time. Because there's times where, you know, somebody's taking a supplement and then they're throwing themselves off because they don't realize this macronutrient and this micro and micronutrient need to kind of work together. Right. Overall.
As this one goes up, this one needs to come down, or like zinc and copper are like one of them, right? That have like an inverse relationship. You just never really know, you know? I mean, I guess maybe are you better off getting a multivitamin if your diet isn't like the best? Maybe, you know, like it's not going to kill you, right?
You're just wasting money. That's all.
Yeah, that too. Especially, you know, there's so many.
Or creatine. Do you really need to do 20 grams of creatine?
Like, yeah, I tell a lot of people like the loading phase of creatine, I'm just like, just start taking it once a day. You know, like it might take a little bit longer for you to see the result or whatever, but it's like even then, the result of creatine is more on like the subtle end, right? As opposed to like the sudden like have all this energy or something. That's just not how it works. And I think that's an issue too, where most people think a lot of supplements are supposed to be like this like thing where it just happens and you start feeling better immediately. Like I was talking to my client this morning, I'm sure you heard me talking about like that allergy medication that I'm taking. And I bought it and I was like, oh, like it's supposed to just help me right away. And then as I was like reading about it, I was like, oh, okay, it's something you got to take over time, and it helps build your immunity. It like acclimates you to the levels in your zone and stuff. And I was like, this is overall probably better for me. But it's one of those things where I was like, damn, this shit doesn't just work right away. What the hell?
Yeah. I just think it's supplements in period, like greens. People are like,
oh, yeah.
Hey, you take the greens and it's like good as like it's
or
not gonna replace it.
EAAs or BCAAs and stuff like
it's
that.
just you're wasting a lot of money, man.
Yeah.
If you can't do most of the stuff within the nutrition realm, you're wasting a lot of money. Now, there are times where I'm like, okay, let's start with this supplement. And we usually start with 1 or 2. Because if I start with 5, which one's really helping you?
Yeah. And also it's like, I may not even have enough information to know which ones to recommend at all. At this point, I'll go to the store and I'll see the proteins and the pre-workouts and the creatines and stuff like that. And I always think to myself first, I'm like, could I get this from having a better diet? If the answer is yes, I don't buy it. So I'm like, could I get more protein by just eating more protein? Okay, maybe I don't need this.
No, I use protein because there's times where I'm just like, okay, I'm not going to have time to eat.
Yeah.
Or I just don't want to shove that much chicken down my mouth.
At the end of the day, they're tools.
They're tools, right? They're all tools. Is there any other scams that you can think of at the top of your head?
I'm trying to think of any that I've heard like as of late.
I know from the physical world, it's like this one exercise, this one.
Yeah, there's always
one
that
massage
going on.
technique.
Yeah. Oh, the other day, Camille was talking to me and she was like, what if I buy one of those like upper back posture fixers?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like the restraining thing that like kind of tighten up and it pulls you back. And I was like, no. It's like it brings us back to like the back brace example, because it's like, does it make you feel better in the moment? Yes, but we're not actually strengthening any of the muscles. In fact, we're probably weakening them, right?
And you're inhibiting.
And you're inhibiting it. And then once you take it off, you're even more slacked forward, because now nothing is even holding any tension at all, right? And now you've kind of made the situation worse. And I'm like, maybe it'll help, I guess, like as a reminder or something. But even then, at the end of the day, it's like you said, it's kind of a waste of money. There's way better ways that you could be doing this, and this isn't really the answer.
All right. So let's go to the studies. Number 1, foods that rely heavily on preservatives may be doing more than extending shelf life. In a large spanning more than a decade study, people with the highest intake of preservative additives were far more likely to develop type 2 diabetes. The increased risks appeared across many commonly used additives found in everyday processed foods. Researchers say the findings support advice to limit highly processed food products when possible.
I think this is one of those studies that it's like they're picking out one thing that isn't really the cause of it, right? Like, I don't think the preservatives are suddenly causing people to have type 2 diabetes.
It's the amount of calories that comes with the addictiveness of it.
Right. It's what food is having these preservatives, right? Like, oh, a lot of these foods are high calorie, high fat, and they're easy to eat a lot of. It's like, okay, well, is it really whatever that exact preservative is, or is it just the fact that people are eating a lot of that food? So again, kind of one of those, not a scam, right? But one of those things you just have to be careful of and think a little bit deeper about what's really causing this to happen.
Yeah. So like if we're talking about type 2 diabetes, it used to be called adult onset diabetes, right? Because there wasn't an abundant food like there is today, the way it is today. And there's been studies when it comes to ultra processed foods that are very addictive, that you could put someone in a room and tell them when to stop. And or not tell them when to stop, but they're going to try to stop on their own. They end up eating 500 calories per meal more. So that means like 1,500 calories a day extra because they can. And so it overrides a lot of hormones and things that happen in your body. That's why GLP-1s are popular. So you got to think about the calorie end of it. But also we're in a state of less movement and less muscle.
Yeah.
So a lot of people and kids are getting it because they're not moving at all and they're just on their phones. You're telling me
it's not just one thing, that it's multiple things?
Oh man. I created a sin in the science world.
Shit.
That's why I hate studies, dude.
Yeah, it's tough because it's like, it's good information. It is informative, but it's just
Not the whole picture.
Yeah, it's not the whole picture.
I want the whole pie, not a piece.
Don't we all?
All right, second study. Global cancer cases have surged, dramatically doubling since 1990, reaching 18.5 million new diagnoses in 2023. Deaths have also climbed over 10 million a year, with the steepest increase hitting low, middle income countries. Without urgent action, researchers project more than 30 million new cases annually by 2050. Alarming, around 4 in 10 cancer deaths are tied to preventable risks such as smoking, poor diet, and high blood pressure.
Damn. That's tough, man. It's
also plastics in the air,
environmental changes.
PFAS.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's tough, dude, because it's just like not everything is controllable, you know. Food is kind of what it is. You know, pollution
it's
around.
It's gonna take time.
Yeah. And now I think that there are some aspects we cannot just kind of, you know, wither away and crawl into a ball and say, well, there's nothing we can do. You know, like you said, a lot of those things are preventable. Smoking, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, lack of diet and exercise. Like these are things that you can at the very least have some control over. You know, I was talking to a client the other day and we were talking about having high cholesterol and stuff because even I deal with it and stuff. And it's like, okay, how much of this is manageable by me? How much of it is genetic, right? And I just have to kind of deal with it. But by no means can you ever just kind of reserve yourself to just being like, it's just my genetics and I'm just going to die. Or
it's crazy. A lot of people do that.
A lot of people do that. And a lot of people don't understand too, that a lot of the issues that they have can be at the very least helped with just changes in diet and exercise, especially metabolic conditions, dude, you know?
But how much of it too is they think that it is genetics, but because they don't do the lifestyle factor, their family doesn't do a lifestyle factor. So they think it's genetics, but it's actually environmental. Right. So that happens often too as well. Do y'all really have this issue, or does it persist itself because the way y'all all eat or all don't work out?
You're telling me it's more than one thing, bro?
God, I hate that. Hate that. All right, guys. If you like what we're doing, we're on Apple, Spotify. You can rate and review us. Check us out on YouTube. Leave a comment down below. Like, subscribe. Our website is strengthsolutionspodcast.com. Free blogs, free guides, and programs for purchase. Be on the lookout for free assessments on there. You can also check out our Facebook group. Email strengthsolutionspodcast@gmail.com. Social media, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. Strength Solutions Podcast. I'm Strength Solutions Edwin.
I'm Strength Solutions Nathaniel.
Until next time, guys.
See ya.
Peace out. Deuces.